Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Crime on the Record. This is Candace. This is where we delve into intriguing and often complex stories that capture our curiosity. Today, we're exploring the tragic and perplexing case surrounding the death of John O'Keefe, a man whose life ended under suspicious circumstances, leaving behind a trail of questions, allegations, and a tangled web of relationships. If you enjoy the podcast, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Please and thank you. If you're listening on YouTube, please click the subscribe button so you will never miss an episode. Also, I wanted to just let you guys know real quick what's been going on with the delays because I know. I did swear the last time on the last episode that I would not have these huge delays between recordings again. But right after that, we went out of town and someone snatched our bag that had our electronics in it. So, um, I have learned that, my therapy stuff I keep uploaded to an encrypted server, but in the cloud. But all of my podcast stuff and YouTube stuff, I just kept on my desktop. Didn't really save it to the cloud anywhere, which I have learned bad mistake because I lost everything. So, in addition to having to wait for a new MacBook to come in, I had to create everything. I mean, we even lost the spreadsheet that had the cases on it that we even wanted to do. So, all the scripts that I had to be rewritten, all the outlines, everything was gone. So it's taken forever. And I'm not going to lie, I've been so busy with work and then having to recreate all that. It's been hard to get motivated to do it. And then after you finally do it, it's hard to then get motivated to get back into the swing of things. But today is the start of that. And hopefully, I will be back on track and will not have to beg your forgiveness again. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get on with the story. So, John O'Keefe was a Boston police officer whose life took an unexpected turn one evening in January 2022. According to sources, about a week before his death, tensions within his relationship with Karen Reed, his girlfriend, reached a boiling point. Just so you know, before I say the next thing, I'm not sure exactly why, the reasoning for it, but John O'Keefe's niece and nephew lived with him. And I'm unsure if Karen Reed technically lived with him or just stayed there so much she basically lived with him. But at any rate, for all intents and purposes, the four of them were in the house. So O'Keefe's niece reported after his death that she had overheard a heated argument during which O'Keefe allegedly expressed that their relationship had run its course and was no longer healthy. So this is before his death. Apparently, this was said, according to the niece. On January 28th of 2022, O'Keefe was captured on surveillance arriving at C.F. McCarthy's in Canton, Massachusetts. Now, I'm going to give you some places, some street names, all of that. If you're like me and you're not from there, you don't have any idea where the hell this stuff's at. I don't either. But I know that when, anyone does a story on anywhere close to me, I like knowing exactly where it was because then I can see it in my head. So I'm going to make sure to list the places, even though most of us don't know them. So later that evening, so he's at C.F. McCarthy's. Later that evening, Karen Reed also appears on camera, joining him after having approximately 6 drinks. The evening continued with both leaving the bar and arriving at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. And when they get to the Waterfall Bar and Grill, they meet several other friends. Again, John O'Keefe's a Boston police officer, and some of the friends that they met up with were fellow officers and their girlfriends' wives. So they hang out for a while. Around 12:10 a.m., Karen Reed leaves the establishment accompanied by 2 women, Jennifer McCabe and Carrie Roberts. And then shortly thereafter, you see on camera O'Keefe exiting the venue, taking a sip from his glass and carrying the drink in his right hand. I only mention that because the glass kind of comes up later in the story. So surveillance footage captures O'Keefe holding the glass, catching up with Reed, and the pair then proceed toward Washington Street. So at this time, O'Keefe reaches out via text to Jennifer McCabe inquiring where to, and he receives a response back that gives him an address on Fairview Road. So apparently the plan was to carry on the party at the home on Fairview Road. Now, the Fairview Road home is owned by Brian Albert and his wife, and Jennifer McCabe is the sister of the wife. So Brian Albert's sister-in-law, just so we know who everybody is. Surveillance video reveals a vehicle consistent with Reed's Lexus SUV as it passes by Canton Town Library. Subsequently, a large black SUV is seen on video traveling in the direction of Temple Beth Abraham. Again, don't know where that's at, but some of you might. So then John O'Keefe places a call seeking further guidance, requesting more precise directions. In response, Jennifer sends a text message with the word hello. So I'm guessing, because that makes no sense. He makes a call to ask for directions and then she texts back hello. What kind of response is that to me calling you for directions? But from the way I understand it, it sounds as if he calls trying to get better directions. Maybe Jennifer doesn't answer the phone. And by the time she goes to call him back, she sees the black SUV sitting outside. So she's like, oh, well, I guess they made it here. But she apparently says that she's wondering why they're not coming in. So she texts hello. Shortly after, she sends another text instructing him to, quote, pull up behind me, referring to her parked vehicle in the driveway. So I guess she's thinking that maybe they're sitting there because they don't really know where they're supposed to park. And so she tells them, just pull up behind me in the driveway. McCabe recounts that she then observed the black SUV shifting from this initial position where it paused close to the driveway to the far left side of the property. This location was near a flagpole and a fire hydrant. And tragically, it is the same spot where John O'Keefe's lifeless body would later be discovered. Afterward, she sends yet another message with the word hello and proceeds to witness the departure of the black SUV. So she and the people inside the house are stating that the car left without anyone coming inside. She's saying, I looked out, I saw the car, then I saw the car pull up a little bit, I said hello again, and they drove off. The end. However, Karen Reed says she dropped O'Keefe off and decided to go home because she was having stomach issues. Sometime between 1:30 a.m. and 2 a.m., another guest who had been at the residence receives a ride home. Now, this individual mentions having seen something that appeared to be a dark object in the snow near the flagpole. However, the guest was unable to discern the exact nature of the object. Now, I also want to mention that there is another man, I believe you pronounce his name Nagel, Mr. Nagel. So his sister is at the house as well. And he says that around this time that Karen and John would have been getting to the house, that he had gotten a call from his sister that she needed a ride. And so he and a couple friends leave and they head over to pick her up. And that when they get there, he calls her or texts and says, hey, I'm here to pick you up. And they sit in the car and wait on her for a few minutes. She finally comes out. And then when she gets outside, she tells them, you know what? I decided I'm going to stay after all. And so they leave. But it seems as if they were there for quite a bit of time, or at least a few minutes, while he's texting, waiting on her to come out. And then when she comes out, the whole discussion they have about her deciding to stay. So during this time, he says that this is the time when the black SUV was there. And he said that he didn't see anybody in the black SUV except for Karen Reed, and that he didn't see anybody else outside. And, it seems as if he probably, he thinks at least that he probably would have seen John O'Keefe had he been laying out in the yard. And he didn't see he didn't see Karen hit anything. He didn't see anybody get out of the car. So basically the understanding behind this is that by the time he got there to pick his sister up, John had already gotten out of the SUV and gone inside. And what he witnessed was Karen sitting there for a minute before she left, which is why he saw only her in the car. Now, they're all at the house for however long, and then everybody goes home. Well, at 4:53 a.m., Jennifer McCabe answers a call from Karen Reed, and she is actively searching for O'Keefe. In the conversation, McCabe informs Reed that she witnessed them at the bar and observed them leaving together, but that's all she knows. So she's basically like, look, I saw you guys at the bar and I saw you leave, but I never see you come into the house. Like, I saw you guys pull up, but then you left and I hadn't seen John. So I don't know what you're talking about. I can't really help you. So I guess, following this, when she's not getting anything from her, she reaches out to Carrie Roberts and expresses her concern about John's absence since he never came home. As per the prosecution's account, Reed also told her, quote, I wonder if he's dead. It's snowing. He got hit by a plow, end quote. So it looks like Karen Reed then gets in the car and takes off to Carrie's house. Then Carrie and Reed go to Jennifer McCabe's residence, where Reed is reported by the women to be hysterical. One of the women offers Reed a ride back to John O'Keefe's residence. Because basically, I guess they're saying that, she's too hysterical to drive. That was their whole point in telling the cops she was hysterical. So they're like, look, she's hysterical. She can't really drive. So one of them rides in her car and the other one follows along in their own vehicle, and they head back to John O'Keefe's house. Now, throughout the drive, one of the women informs investigators that Reed voiced concerns, asking questions like, quote, could I have hit him, and did I hit him? She also shares details about a cracked taillight on the black SUV, which she showed them once they got to O'Keefe's house. The three women then entered one vehicle, and they set out to search for him. So the friend who was driving noted that there were challenging conditions caused by heavy snowfall and limited visibility upon their arrival. During this time, Karen Reed reportedly claimed to have immediately spotted the victim lying in the snow, even though the other women were unable to see him. So that's exactly how the source material puts it. So basically what they're saying is that, and the point they're trying to make is that they're saying it was a damn near blizzard out there. So we don't know how, when the three of us pulled up, Karen immediately was like, oh, I see him. We didn't see anything. And it was snowing way too hard and too dark outside for us to have seen him immediately. So they're calling BS on her story, basically, when they talk to the cops. So they get there. A 911 call is made by one of the women reporting the discovery of a man in the snow. The initial responding Canton police officer observed three women waving from the front yard, positioned close to a flagpole and a fire hydrant, like, was stated before. Two of these women were engaged in administering CPR to the victim. The officer noted that the victim was cold to the touch and unresponsive. Now, there's footage that's captured on his police cruiser that provides a glimpse into the conditions of the scene. I mean, it shows that it's pretty challenging conditions. It's dark. There's heavy snowfall. But again, this is the cruiser when it gets there. So, I don't know was it snowing that heavily prior to that? Maybe it just started snowing heavily. I don't know. A Canton firefighter who responded to the 911 call said that she witnessed Reed telling her friend repeatedly, quote, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, end quote. So they're there. They find him unresponsive, cold to the touch, and he is formally declared deceased. Then Reed is made to go to Good Samaritan Medical Center, where she undergoes blood collection for testing, and a forensic toxicologist reviews the results, indicating that her blood alcohol content measured between 0.07 and 0.08%. So that's at this point, at like 5 in the morning, 5:30, 5:30, whatever, she is already at the limit that most places have. I mean, it's point oh 0.08. Like if you're over point oh 0.08 in Alabama, your ass is going to jail. So she's at that limit. So the toxicologists, their assessment suggests that her BAC, blood alcohol content, at approximately 1245 could have ranged anywhere from 0.13% to 0.29%. Now, that is hella drunk. I mean, that's blackout drunk. I'm thinking, like, you got to be shit faced at 0.29. So she's pretty trashed. And like we said, she had already had 6 drinks on that they knew of when she got to the bar. And then I think they talked about her having like a couple drinks and a shot, or I think maybe they all did a tequila shot with the bartender or something. So, I mean, she had quite a bit to drink. His John O'Keefe's autopsy is done in February 2022, and they find that the officer had abrasions to his right forearm, 2 black eyes, a cut on his nose, and a 2-inch laceration on the back of his head, as well as skull fractures. He was also hypothermic, which was determined to be a potential factor in his death. Now, the chief ME, medical examiner, stated she observed no signs during the autopsy that he had been in any kind of altercation. But Karen Reed describes his injuries as exactly that. She says that when she saw him, his eyes were swollen shut and blood was coming out of his nose. And she described it as, it looking like someone had beat the hell out of him. But that is not what the MEs say. The Massachusetts State Police troopers visit Reed's parents' residence later because, after her leaving the hospital, she goes to her parents' house, I'm sure because she needed, comfort. During their visit, they observe her black SUV is positioned outside the garage door and that its taillight is visibly shattered. So they take the car in. And they confirmed the car's backup camera was functioning and alerted the technicians when it was approaching a dummy. So this would show that while backing up, had she gotten close to anything, she would have heard a signal and the backup camera would have been working and she would have seen someone in it. So they're saying, car's functioning properly, looks good, except for the taillight being broken. And then a forensic scientist also says he found human hair on the rear of the vehicle. So at this point, prosecutors start to believe that Karen Reed hit O'Keefe. They say that as John O'Keefe exited the vehicle, Reed allegedly proceeded to make a 3-point turn during a winter storm, striking her boyfriend in the process before driving off and leaving him to die in a blizzard. I mean, I don't know. That sounds a little sketch to me. I don't know. Like, if you're doing a 3-point turn in a blizzard, how fast could you be going? Could you possibly cause all of these injuries? I mean, that's a lot of damn injuries to bump into somebody. I mean, you're not gassing it to do a 3-point turn. And he was found in the yard by the flagpole and the fire hydrant. I mean, where the hell was she doing this 3-point turn in the damn yard? I mean, to me, if he's found in the yard and she does a 3-point turn in the road, I'm not quite sure how his body was found there. I don't know. They say fire hydrants are close to the street, so maybe he was close enough that they are saying she would have knocked him back some. I don't know. Again, Canton Police Department has seized her SUV, and Massachusetts State Police Emergency Response Team members state that 2 pieces of red plastic taillight and 1 piece of clear plastic taillight were found after digging through the snow. They also talk about finding glass there, which is why it's mentioned earlier that he left the bar and was seen on surveillance holding a glass, because they're basically saying that, this shows that John left the bar with that glass in his hand, probably took the glass in the car with him and got out with the same glass. And when she went to do this turn, she hit him, and that's why there's glass out there. I don't know. But they do say that the plastic that they found was consistent with broken pieces of her SUV. So they arrest her at this point. So they arrest Karen Read and they charge her with second-degree murder, motor vehicle manslaughter, and leaving the scene of a collision in connection with John O'Keefe's death, which also sounds kind of odd to me because if she did hit him, I don't understand second-degree murder. To me, that's manslaughter all day. I mean, she would not have had any intent. It would have been doing a three-point turn. I mean, my thing is you can't have it both ways. You can't say she ran him down because he wanted to end the relationship, but also say that she accidentally hit him doing a three-point turn. I mean, which is it? If this is a case of she was drunk as a skunk and backed into him trying to do a three-point turn, then okay, she killed him. She caused his death, but inadvertently. I mean, she shouldn't have been drinking, given, but I don't understand a murder charge. I understand more of vehicular manslaughter or even vehicular homicide, if they wanted to call it that, but just second-degree murder. I don't know. Murder just kind of seems like the intention of killing someone. Now, as the investigation unfolds, details start emerging that fuel speculation. O'Keefe's phone records revealed strains in his relationship with Karen Read, and according to court documents, witnesses told police that John O'Keefe never made it inside the home where he was dropped off. However, again, Read states he did, and Karen Read told Dateline's Dennis Murphy she watched him go to the door, stick his head in, and police reports come back saying that when she was interviewed, she didn't say nothing about that. Her exact quote to Dateline was, "I texted him, I called him, and when minutes of him exiting the car, he was not answering his phone," end quote. So she is saying she watched him walk all the way up to the door and stick his head inside, and then she started proceeding, like basically how it is anytime you drop somebody off. You got to drop somebody off, you make sure they get inside, but if you see them open the door and start poking their head in, you're like, okay, they've made it, they're good, people are home, I'm heading out. Now, amidst all of this, in addition to all this speculation about Karen Read, questions start arising about the credibility of the witnesses and the accuracy of their accounts. Then the case takes a further twist when allegations surface about possible foul play involving a Boston police officer's family. So remember, Brian Albert is the homeowner of the home on Fairview Road. He, turns out, is a highly trained boxer and MMA fighter. So the defense, they claim that O'Keefe was beaten in the basement of the home and that the family dog had inflicted those injuries that were on his arm. In one of their filings, the defense alleges, quote, 4 months after O'Keefe's death, Brian Albert went to great lengths to dispose of critical evidence by making sure Chloe, his family dog of 7 years, simply disappeared, end quote. So Chloe was the family's German Shepherd that by all accounts they adored. And the defense is suggesting that, especially with German Shepherds being as protective as they typically are, which is why they make good guard dogs and good police dogs, that when this German Shepherd saw the fight, it thought that, its owner was being attacked, and so it joined in and clawed and bit at O'Keefe on his right arm when he tried to shield himself, which would account for those abrasions on his arm. It has been reported that Albert then sold the house shortly after O'Keefe's death. So forensics were never done inside. So, I mean, it does sound kind of sketch, but at the same time, as crazy as some people's decisions sound, they're logical to them sometimes. I mean, I see people do all kinds of wild stuff at times that I'm like, what the hell? But when they explain it to me, I'm like, you know what? I don't agree, but I get your logic. I get your logic for you. So who knows? Maybe they couldn't stand the thought of living in a house where a friend died. Maybe they got rid of the dog because people started talking about the dog biting him and they were scared that the police would come and try to put the dog down. Maybe wherever they moved, they couldn't have a dog. We don't know. So I don't know. But in addition to that, there were 2 samples of an unknown matter discovered on the right arm of a long sleeve shirt that John O'Keefe was wearing. And the defense wants to have it tested to see if it's dog saliva, which would be very telling. Another thing that I hadn't really seen anybody say anything about was the fact that he just had the long sleeve shirt on. That kind of made me question, why the hell didn't he have a jacket on? I mean, you think a big coat if it's damn near a blizzard. So to me, that would make me think more of him making it into the house than not making it into the house. Because, if you're getting out in a blizzard to walk into a house, I would think it's freezing outside. You're going to have your coat on. It's probably going to be once you get in the house and get warm that you take your jacket off. And if they beat him damn near to death and then took him outside and left him to die in the snow, then, they probably wouldn't have thought to put his jacket on him. Maybe they intended to blame this on Karen Read the entire time. Or maybe they intended to say, we don't know what happened. He left or he never made it inside. I don't know. Maybe he got in a fight with somebody after he left the bar and then passed out in the yard drunk and died of hypothermia. I don't know. Newly uncovered evidence suggested internet searches related to, quote, how long to die in cold, end quote, were made on Jennifer McCabe's phone at 2:27 a.m. Now, the prosecution says that that's untrue, that search was done, but it was done later when Read asked her to look it up. So basically, Jennifer McCabe is saying that, Karen Read was hysterical, finds his body out there, and is like, oh my God, has he been laying out here all night? How long would it have taken for him to die laying out here? And so she gets Jennifer to Google it and see. But, and also, I guess at this point is when they're saying that, Karen Read starts questioning, oh my God, how is he out here? Did I hit him? And so, they Google this to see if maybe she hit him and he fell out in the cold and died of hypothermia. But again, prosecution and defense are arguing over the time the call or the search was made. Now, I didn't understand what they were talking about. You could go out there and Google it and read about how they search this on the phone and why they're saying the times are different. But it is a lot of text speak that I did not understand. It was talking about how files are saved under certain things and folders and codes and all kind of tech stuff. I didn't understand. So I ain't even going to bother to try to explain it to you because I didn't understand it well enough to explain it. Just know they're arguing over it. The defense also says that Jennifer McCabe opened an article titled, quote, how long does it take to digest food, end quote, which also sounds kind of damning because we all know that one of the ways that they find time of death a lot of times is by seeing whether or not the person has undigested food contents in their stomach. So it stands to reason that if they did, cause his death, they wanted to look it up and see how long it was going to take for his food to digest and how hard it was going to be for the police to figure out at what time he died so they would be in the clear. I don't know. But it is kind of damning to me to see something like that. I don't know. Maybe they have a good explanation. I don't know. Honestly, I don't really understand why you would be opening anything like that. You're hanging out with your friends drinking. You think you'd just be hanging out. But a video also recently surfaced of Karen Read backing out of the driveway at the home that she shared with John O'Keefe. Again, unsure if it was technically her home or she just kind of lived there. But it shows her backing out around 5 a.m. And it to me, it looks like she clearly backs into John O'Keefe's car and hits it. I would have put the video on here, but if you watch us at all, then you know that I am not tech savvy for sure. And the last time that I tried to play a video on here, um, I couldn't get sound to it when I tried to play it full screen, and so I had to go small screen, and it was a whole cluster. So I didn't bother to do it because I didn't want to screw up the video. And Jay's back at work now, so you just got me recording in between sessions, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing with the tech side. So I'd rather just not try to play it and not screw up the whole recording than to play it and have to re-record. So with that being said, if you Google Karen Read video driveway or video backing out, I'm telling you it's going to come up. To me, you'd have to be damn near blind not to see that she backs into his car. I mean, it is obvious to me that she backs into it. Maybe it's because I watched the little clip on an 85-inch screen TV, so maybe I saw it better than a lot of people. I don't know. But to me, it is very obvious that you see her backing out and then you see her get right up to that car and the car move. So to me, it is very clear that she bumped into his car, which is why it moved. And the importance of this is that they're saying that is when her taillight was broken. The defense is saying, she didn't get her taillight broken by backing into John O'Keefe. She got her taillight broken because of running into his car when she was backing out of the house. So, I don't know. Watch the video. It could mean that she did, in fact, break the taillight then, or it could be a red herring. We don't know. Now, the defense has asked in a motion to compel for access to the event data recorder on her Lexus SUV so that they'll know exactly what occurred. Now, to me, I don't understand why more is not being made of this data recorder. I mean, this is basically the black box of an airplane. I mean, it tells you everything that happens in this vehicle. So my question is, why in the hell are we even going back and forth with these arguments over whether or not she hit him when it's going to be on the recording? I mean, if they have the data recorder, it will show if she backed into something. It will show if the alerts went off because she hit something. If anything like that occurred on this vehicle and the exact time it occurred. So why in the hell is it that the prosecution isn't showing the information from this data recorder? That should be their freaking, caught red-handed moment. That should be their ace in the hole saying, you know what, we have it all on the data recorder. It shows right here that she backed into something. I don't understand why it took the defense asking for it. And in my opinion, it seems as if we will know exactly what happened to an extent once the information from the data recorder comes out. So we'll have to wait and see. Sadly, whether you believe it or not, the death of John O'Keefe at this point remains a mystery. There's conflicting accounts, bunch of complex relationships, and the circumstances are very unsettling. I will say, as the legal proceedings continue, I think one thing is for certain, and that's that the case is going to be high profile, and we don't know what's going to come up next. It is all over social media. I mean, Twitter is damn near Karen Read, Karen Read, Karen Read all day. And there are people, selling merchandise, bracelets, T-shirts, signs. There are people outside the courthouse with all kinds of stuff on that says Free Karen Read. People seem to think that this is a conspiracy. I think we overuse that word, so I don't know. I think we overuse it to the point that now people are so sick of hearing everything's a conspiracy that nothing's a conspiracy. So I think it's hard for a lot of people to believe this could be a conspiracy. But I think if there ever was one, this might be it. Karen Read might be getting railroaded here. I don't know, but the story sounds a little sketch to me. But at the same time, Who in their right mind thinks that if you beat somebody damn near to death, throwing them out in the yard is going to fix the problem? I just wonder, wouldn't cops think of a better way to dispose of the body? But I digress. They were all drunk, so nobody was making good decisions. I guess we should not forget the difference that alcohol can make in a person. So, I will try to keep up with this and jump on and update anything that I hear about it. I'm sure plenty is going to keep coming up, especially if that data recorder information comes out. So we'll know at some point. I guess it just depends on whether it comes out now or we have to wait until this goes to trial. But that is it for today and the story of John O'Keefe. Join us next time when we continue to explore different stories that challenge not only our understanding of human behavior, but the complexities in the world. I mean, people are human behavior is fascinating. It is amazing to me the things that people can do to one another. And, our world's complex and there's a lot of gray area. So a lot of times, even when people do things, it turns out to be an accident or, you know, justifiable. So we don't know. But we just keep on studying cases and putting out content for you. But thank you guys for tuning in yet again to Crime on the Record, especially with the lag between episodes. Remember to subscribe, rate, and leave your thought in the comments. And until next time, stay curious.